So is porn anything like real life? In many ways, it clearly isn't. It's obviously an act. It's obviously, it's not real sex in as far as the people aren't in relationships and things like that. They are performers. They are porn performers. But is it reflective of real life at all? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. We're going to compare the kind of things that we'd usually find in porn and compare what you'd probably expect it to be real life. And we're doing this because the UK government has recently announced that they are dropping the porn ban legislation that was brought in 2016. It hadn't ever been put into practice. The government had no plans to put it into force. But they got challenged on that in the courts, and they actually lost a case to a group of people who thought that the government should enforce this porn ban. And the government said, okay, well, we've lost the case, but we can repeal the law. That's the thing about Parliament. They're omnicompetent. They can just change the law whenever they like. So this is what they're going to do. But the fact of the matter is, it was always the wrong thing to do. You were never going to protect children from porn by banning it, especially when those children, mostly teenagers obviously, who are quite tech savvy, could get around it relatively easily. They either have to have a VPN or, not watch porn on those websites, watch them on these websites, which aren't regulated, like some social media websites. So basically, there was loads of ways of getting around it. It was a pointless law in the first place. But that doesn't mean that porn isn't harmful in many ways. It is harmful when it is the only source of sex education for young people, or the primary source of sex education for young people. So the obvious way of combating this is education. Before I go any further, I'd like to say my name is Andy. I usually do sex education videos on this channel, which is a great reason to stick around because we're here to learn, and learning is what we're going to do today. So I'm going to take you through some of the scenarios you'd find in standard porn movies, the ones that you would find all over the internet. And we're going to compare them to what really happens in real life. And hopefully what we're going to show at the end of this is that porn isn't anything like real life sex. But of course, if you're a young person and porn is the main way that you get sex education, you might think it's real life and try to reenact it. And that's where the problems come. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to talk about is consent. And it's a big one, I know, and maybe I should have brought it first up. But consent is barely visible in porn. In large numbers of porn movies, obviously not every single one, but in large numbers of porn movies, one party coerces the other one into sex in some way. Now, it's not always the man coercing the woman. Sometimes it's the woman coercing the man. But the point is, there is no, would you like to have sex? They say yes, and they get on with it. That's all consent is, but it doesn't appear in normal mainstream porn. Now, you could argue, of course, in real life, it doesn't always happen, but the point is that it should happen. It's a kind of legal requirement in many respects. So this is the problem with showing that in porn, is that, if you're coercing somebody, if you're kind of tricking them into having sex, then it's rape. But because it's not shown as brutal or anything like that, obviously there is rape porn as well. That's kind of a different kettle of fish. I'm talking normal, standard, what everybody would consider mainstream porn. Because it's in there, people think it's normal, and it isn't. That leads me on quite nicely to my next point, which is innocence. There tends to be, in mainstream porn, one of the parties seems to be acting quite innocent, like they don't really know what sex is. They're young enough and so quite sheltered and don't really know what they're doing in some way. And of course, that's nonsense. And this is kind of how the coercion happens. You've got one person saying, oh no, it's all right, no, I'm not going to hurt you, everything's going to be fine, just put this penis in your mouth kind of thing. And it's just like, it's so ridiculous. If the person really is that innocent and doesn't know what they're consenting to, there's no consent there. But secondly, and really quite importantly, usually people aren't that innocent. They know what's going to happen. They may not have had comprehensive sex education. They may not know what to do, but they know what sex is. But, a lot of porn, there is one party which is playing the innocent and doesn't know what they're doing, and is often taken advantage of because of that. The next one is size. I'm talking both boobs and penises and pretty much everything else you see in there. The sizes are often bigger than normal, perkier than normal, and in the case of guys, last longer than normal. So the people with the penises watching this video, a couple of things. Firstly, although obviously you want to last longer than maybe a few seconds, you don't have to last 10, 15, 20 minutes. That's not a thing. The actors aren't lasting that long. There are cuts in the scene, they are taking breaks, they're frankly used to doing it anyway, you know, this is their job. They are taking Viagra and things like that, even though they don't have erectile dysfunction. The reason why they're doing it is so they can keep their willy up longer. They are doing it under some sort of medical supervision as well, so don't try it at home. And although, like I say, it's nice to last longer than a few seconds or a minute or two, it doesn't have to be as long as you see in porn movies. But that also leads me on very nicely to my next point, which is about foreplay. How many porn movies have you seen where the foreplay is something like, oh, I see you've come home from work. Would you like to have sex? And they'll go off and have sex. That's usually the long and short of it. And it's not foreplay at all. Even if you've got a bit of storyline in there, there's no foreplay, there's no kissing and cuddling, there's no leading up to it, there's no dinner beforehand. All of this is foreplay, right? The vast majority of the time in a porn movie, two people meet each other for the first time and within minutes they're having sex. And it's completely unrealistic. It sets expectations way too high. And although I understand having a 30-minute lead up in a porn movie wouldn't be very good movie direction, people have got to realise that it's not reality. It won't happen. And more to the point, you should have foreplay. It makes it better, for crying out loud. And again, it leads me on to my next point, which is about love and romance. There is no romance in porn movies, hardly any at all, right? Again, okay, you don't want a hour-long dinner leading up to the sex. I understand that, it's a porn movie. But the point is, in real life, you have romance. You have, you know, you fancy the person, whether you might meet them in a nightclub. You might have sex with them quite quickly, as in it's a one-night stand, or it's not a one-night stand. You might have a proper relationship. But the point is, there is some sort of love and romance coming in before you're having sex. You fancy the person, you know, you really like them, they like you back, hopefully, you know, and that means that it's nothing like porn. That's my point. It's nothing like porn. Porn is just about the banging most of the time. The other thing you get in porn movies is perfect performance. It is never the case in porn, or hardly ever, unless it's the subject of porn. So sometimes you get porn movies specifically about this kind of thing. But you don't get, in mainstream porn, problems getting your willy up, hurting while you have sex for women. You don't have any of that in porn, do you? You also always have, for some reason, the man ejaculating. Often you have the woman orgasming as well. Let me tell you, that doesn't happen very often in penetrative sex. Certainly without foreplay, and maybe some post-play as well. There ain't no kissing and cuddling after sex in porn, is there? There's no apologising in porn, you know, you get things wrong, you say sorry, get on with it, kind of thing. It happens in real life. There is no such thing as perfect performance in real life. Something won't go as planned. The condom won't go on properly. Oh, I'll get to that in a minute as well. Whatever you're planning, it's certainly a lot more fumbly in real life and good for it as well than it is in porn. As I mentioned condoms, let's also talk about contraception. So in porn, partly because of course these people meet and then just have sex immediately, but you hardly ever see contraception. Sometimes you do see a condom, sometimes you do, but hormonal contraception is never mentioned. You don't often see things like dental dams for cunnilingus, and frankly, you don't often see condoms either. As it happens, If you are in California, you have to wear condoms for porn. And when that law came into effect, a lot of the studios moved their productions out of California and into like Nevada, Florida, and other places like that, where they have a big porn industry. The next thing you never see in porn is proper communication. So actually saying, oh no, I don't like that, stop that, let's do it this way, all the rest of it. It's always just get on with it, bang, 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 and you're done, right? There's no communication about what people like, what people don't like, and it's very formulaic actually. It's usually blowjob, penetrative sex, anal sex, and then a cum shot at the end. But that doesn't happen in real life anyway. It's so stupid. So there's no communication about what you like and what you don't like. That should happen in real life. I recommend it. But you don't see it in porn at all, ever. Of course, you also don't see non-penetrative sex. So you do see blowjobs, but that's penetrative sex, to be honest with you. You do see penis and vagina sex a lot. You see anal sex a lot. But you don't see other types of sex. You don't see mutual masturbation very often. You don't see the kissing and the licking and the erogenous zones and all those kind of things, which is an evening of sex which has nothing to do with penetrative sex. Obviously, there are some movies out there that does happen, but not very often. And of course, we have to end with the money shot. Basically, if you don't know what the money shot is, basically it's when the guy with the penis pulls out of whatever they're doing and comes on usually the actress, often either on their face or on their breasts. And it's a very porn thing. It didn't really happen before porn, and it is to show the camera the ejaculation. No other reason. Obviously, some people find it sexy and want that to happen. That's absolutely fine, but it's not normal. Usually you ejaculate if you're having penetrative sex with somebody in their vagina, right? If you're having penis and vagina sex, you would usually ejaculate there. You don't have to. I'm not saying that is a must, but that's what would usually happen. You don't see it in porn. They always pull out and ejaculate on the actress in some way. It's just amazing. So bear that in mind. When you get to the end of a porn movie and think, would this ever happen to me? The answer is clearly no. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. You can do that just down below. Have you got any comments about what you've seen in porn and what you think about that would happen in real life or not? Subscribe, because I make videos regularly, and click the little bell icon to be notified of when I next upload. And hopefully that means I will see you next time. Bye-bye.